Oh, hello. Welcome to Gourmet, the channel where I cook my way through all the cookbooks I own and have never used. We are still working with a Taste of Epcot, where we'll be making Banoffee Tart. It looks like this. It's basically a banana. I what did the internet say? A banana toffee tart. So hence Banoffee. It's a Scottish dessert. Um, it sounds really good. Now here's a full disclosure for the rest of the video. It is really good, spoiler alert, because I forgot to film an intro. Didn't even realize it. I'm sitting here editing the video and I'm like, huh, I never filmed anything. So here's your intro for it. Let's get started. We're gonna start our tart by making the tart shell. Now, you should know I still don't own a tart pan, and I keep making tarts, so we're gonna make it a pie pan. um, but whatever. One day I'll get a tart pan. I just don't have the room for it yet, and I only make so many tarts, and it's all for this channel. But let's get started here. Um, what are we doing? We need to add in flour, cocoa powder, sugar, and salt into this bowl. So I've got just regular unbleached all-purpose flour here. We're still making our way through this bag. That's kind of what I love about a lot of these recipes. And I think also that's kind of why I like baking in some ways a little, sometimes more than cooking. It's just because with baking, a lot of the ingredients, like, you buy these like big packs of them and then you just have them for a while. Whereas cooking, a lot of the stuff goes bad quicker. And maybe, not saying that that's the right way to look at things. Like, baking's much more of a science, and I'm much more of a go with the flow person. So I vibe with cooking more that way. But hey, it is what it is. Okay. So there's our 2 cups of flour. We need a half cup of cocoa powder. So I'm just using Hershey's cocoa powder. I don't I don't even know like what other kinds of cocoa powder are out there. I've always been a Hershey's cocoa powder person, and we're not changing that anytime soon. There we go. That's our half cup of cocoa powder. We need 3 tablespoons of sugar. So let's get that. This is just, again, pure cane sugar. uh, Let us get this. So I meant to make this earlier, and I just kind of didn't. And I also, for some reason, don't know what I was thinking, but I forgot that the dough has to chill for like 2 to 3 hours. So, yeah, this one's going to be an interesting one. This one's going to go much later into the day than I normally make it. Now we need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I've run out of the salt in my little, what's the word? Salt grinder. So I'm just going to use this salt. I don't know what I got on it before, but I got something on it. And so now I'm just working my way through this salt bag until I'm finished with that. I've got like so many different kinds of salt that I'm just like, I can't make myself replace what's in the like salt grinder until I finished everything else. But I'm gonna call that a 1/4 teaspoon. It's maybe a little more, but hey, that's okay. Now this is probably my worst nightmare. I hate this part with a passion. But I'm gonna get out of the fridge this pre-cut butter. So here's my butter. This is a stick and a half of butter that I've cut into little cubes. And now we have to cut it into the flour and cocoa powder. And some people will have like a pastry cutter to do this. Some people just use knives. This book says a pastry blender. Not 100% sure what that is. I'm assuming that's like a pastry cutter. But since I don't make most pastry this way, I don't have any of those things. I do the other method, which is you take 2 knives and hope for the best. And so that's what we're going to do. We'll see how far we get along. until I give up and start using my hands, even though I'm not supposed to. So I got 2 knives. I don't know if this is right, but really, this is what you're doing. You're just kind of. That's why they call it cutting, because you're like cutting the butter in. And eventually, it's supposed to get small and mix itself in. And that always takes so long. But this is kind of how I was shown to do it, is you take 2 knives and you just kind of graze them past each other. And I'm hitting some of the butter, but I don't get a lot of butter this way. As promised, I used my hands and I stopped using the knives because I didn't want to stand here for an hour. If anybody has any good tips on that, let me know, because I'm not good at it. But now we need to go ahead and add in our wet ingredients. So we've got, these eggs have like glue on them. Oh well. We need 2 eggs. Hands wash. We have our eggs. We need 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk. We're going to start out with 2. The book specifically says to start out with 2, and then if you need, add the 3rd. So we'll just kind of set that aside. And then we are supposed to stir the dough until it comes together. So easy enough. We'll see how well it comes together. This is going to be a really dry dough, I think. Okay, so I would say we're pretty much there. We pretty much have the dough all the way together. I am going to kind of scoot this to the side real quick, and we're going to lay out a piece of saran wrap. Just try not to make the biggest mess, but this is going to be a mess no matter what I choose to do, because I'm doing it this way. And then I'm going to plop the dough on there. I'm going to go ahead and scrape out what I can from here. There we go. And then I'm just going to wipe off the rest with my finger. I didn't end up adding in the extra tablespoon of milk. 2 tablespoons actually did a really good job. There's our dough. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in plastic wrap, and then I'm not doing this in exactly the order. And then I'm going to, now that it's in the plastic wrap, I am going to shape into a disc. And this is going to sit in the fridge for like 2 to 3 hours. It's been just about 2.5 hours. We've got our dough out, and now we get to roll it out into our pie pan. Like I said, I don't own a tart pan, and admittedly, I did just put an order in for a tart pan because I thought to myself, I can't be doing this again. I like to do the channel. I try to do the channel where, like, if you don't have the ingredient or the baking thing or anything like that, there's ways to work around it. And we're going to try the pie pan, but my issue is, and really why I want the tart pan, and I've wanted one for a while before I did this. I want the tart pans, a lot of them have the bottom that releases that you can just like punch out from the bottom and it'll come up. And then the sides of the tart obviously will stay the same. And that's what I want. And you can't do that in a pie pan. So there's a chance that we're not going to be able to get out our pie dough from the pie, what's this called? Tin. But we're going to try. Really, we just need to roll this out. I need to put my oven on 350, I think, is what the book says. Yes. I had the book all the way across the room. So 350, we'll get that started. And we're just going to roll out our pie dough. There we go. That is... I guess I should have shaped it into a disc before I put it in the plastic wrap. Oh well. And we need a slightly floured surface. The book specifically says a lightly floured surface. So that's what we're doing. There's our flour. We'll scoot that out of the way for now. We're just I'm gonna roll. This is a thick dough. This is, boy. Ooh, this is gonna be a lot of rolling. Oh, it's so sticky. It's like a big cookie. They said lightly floured, but I don't know. I think we want a pretty floured surface. This is a really sticky dough. And maybe it's because I'm doing it on a cutting board and not like a counter, but really, in the grand scheme of things, what's the difference between the cutting board and the counter? Not much. I know there's not supposed to be this much flour on here, right? However, it's either we have flour on it and it doesn't stick, or we have no flour on it, it sticks, and then we don't get a pie out of this. And I'd rather have flour on it and get a pie. I don't know about anybody else, but that's me. Okay, perfect. Now what I am going to do is probably rinse off my hands. It doesn't say to, this is a non-stick pan, but I'm going to go ahead and just spray the pan anyways. I don't think that's going to hurt. There we go. Oh boy, okay. Now we have to figure out how to do this because it's going to crack. There's just no way this is going to... It says to do the thing where you take the rolling pin and you fold the dough over the rolling pin. But even that is not... okay, well, I guess that works better than I thought. And I should probably wipe some flour off. Okay, and then we're just going to gently roll this on top. There we go, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to let it sink in from the sides. Try to push some of the sides together. Okay. And now we need to trim any excess, which this is also where I always go wrong. I'm not good at this, but we're just gonna... I already feel like I messed it up. If it's not pretty, does that matter? Okay, and then that. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay. I'm not too mad at that. I think that's fine. What we'll do is I'm just going to kind of squish these guys together a little bit. And then I'm going to find something to try to weigh this down with so that it doesn't puff up. You're supposed to use pie weights or like dry beans, which of course I have neither of those things. But we'll see what I have. And then this is going to sit in the fridge for 15 minutes. And then it's going to bake at 350 for 30. And then we take it out and cool it completely. So we actually did it. I forgot to film anything of taking our pie or our tart dough out of the oven. But you can see here it actually worked. We have it free-form. Now, it did puff up a lot more than it's supposed to. But that's because I don't have those pie weights. And there's nothing we're going to do about that. Now, we need to cut 2 bananas and place them on the bottom of our shell. So just got 2 bananas. I'm going to go ahead and peel them and then slice them and put them on the bottom of the shell. It's pretty straightforward. Honestly, the hardest part of this recipe is making the tart dough and like baking it and all of that. The rest of this is going to come together super easily. I'm just going to, there we go, fill in holes. I'm going to wash my hand real quick. It's covered in banana. Hands are cleaned. The banana, what is it? Film is off my hands. Now we're going to cover these with a can of dulce de leche. So this is just the dulce de leche I have from the grocery store. It's the only one I think I've ever seen at my grocery stores. So I don't know if there's another brand or not, but I would recommend this. I've had it. It's good. I'm going to just take my knife and pop open the top. There we go. And now we're supposed to top the bananas with the dulce de leche. So we're going to see how this goes. That's kind of what I thought. I didn't think it'd come out. I'm going to use this spatula and just kind of coax it out. Oh, maybe I should have heated this up. It doesn't say to, and I don't think I should have, but This is a pretty thick. It's always quiet when I concentrate. Now the trick is to do this without lifting up a bunch of the banana. I'm also trying really hard not to break the shell. I guess the good part is, since it is kind of like a caramel, like once it's on top of this banana, those bananas are stuck to it. So if we can just get this all the way across all bananas kind of evenly, then we can spread it out a little more. There we go. There we go. Now it's working. Now we're getting somewhere with it. It just kind of. My kitchen's not hot. I have my kitchen pretty cold right now. I've cranked it down the air because of the pie. Oh my god, there we go again. Because of the tart dough. So I'm assuming that's not helping my cause. But we're close. You can see, yes, I've made a mistake, but that whole side of the tart is not very pretty. And just a little bit more. Look at that. I'm pretty happy with this. I've got a hole here, but there we go. Now it's gone. Perfect. So there's that. Now we have some fun time. We get to whip some cream. So I've got my bowl here to whip cream, and we are going to whip a cup of cream. Somewhere I have a cup measuring cup out. It's in the bowl. Oh no. Okay, so this is a half cup, so we need a whole cup of heavy whipping cream. So here's 1, 2. Of course, you can do this by hand, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick my cream in the fridge real quick, though. And then here's the fun part. We need 3 tablespoons of Scotch whiskey, which you don't need, but I, of course, went ahead and bought anyways. And this is the one I got, the Glenlivet. There we go. Scotch whiskey. I don't know if this is good, but it came in a fun box, and so I said, why not try it? I don't know much about whiskey, but here's what the bottle looks like. So I'm just gonna get this guy open. You can just leave the whiskey out if you're trying to make this without the alcohol, but why would we not want a Scotch whiskey whipped cream? You know, that just seems unfair to us. We need 3 tablespoons, or 3 teaspoons. I just added a half tablespoon. How many teaspoons is that? 1 tablespoon is 3 teaspoons according to my little chart on my fridge. So there we go. We were about to get lit on a Monday. Oops. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just stick this on the mixer and we'll whip the cream. Here is our whipped cream. I'm going to try it. Yeah, that's good. And we whipped it to a medium stiff peak. And we are just kind of scooping it on. There's our whipped cream. And I'm just going to get it in as much of kind of like around as I can. There we go. Can I get any more out? Not without losing what's on this one. Okay. There we go. Oh, our whipped cream. And now we have some hot caramel sauce here. This is just like a Smucker's caramel sauce. And we have some instant coffee. And we need a teaspoon of instant coffee poured into our caramel sauce. It says prepared caramel sauce, and I don't know what that means, so I just went ahead and stuck it in the microwave. That feels like it's pretty well combined to me. I'm just going to use the coffee spoon, and we just are going to drizzle it. Probably supposed to be a lot more artfully than this on top, but that's fine. I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and slice this, and then we get to try. So here it is. Here's our pie. Look at that. That looks pretty good. We should compare it to the picture. Hold on. Here's their Banoffee Tart. Okay, beautiful. Here's our Banoffee Tart. Rustic, homemade. But you can see the layers, and they had layers. I mean, I obviously don't have the little crumbles on top, but whatever. I'm just really excited. I want to try it. So let's get into this. I'm just gonna, do the pie thing where you take off the front. It's somehow like it's kind of hard to cut and kind of not. The crust is interesting, but here's our bite. Mm. Honestly, that's great. um, you have to like banana, of course. I think that goes without saying, but that was such a good bite of pie. Sorry, tart is a tart. Um, I don't really have any complaints on this one. I think my issue you should probably have a tart pan or at least some sort of pan that has like more like straighter sides. Um, and that's easy to take the shell out of, right? So that's something to think about. And then I did have to go out and specifically buy Scotch whiskey, which is kind of optional, kind of not. The recipe doesn't say that it's optional, but there is a footnote that says you can leave it out. But then you've just whipped cream. It's not a sweet whipped cream. So if you're going to leave out the whiskey, I think I would rather have like a real whipped cream. But I like the whiskey whipped cream that's on it. The dulce de leche you didn't have to make, you just buy it. The caramel sauce you just buy. So really, it's a really accessible recipe. Yeah, I liked it. I think it gets. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 just because I needed the pan. I probably should have had the pie weights, like things to make it look aesthetically more pleasing, and having to buy the whiskey because the whiskey was not cheap. You could find other kinds of whiskey, but the Scotch whiskeys that I was looking at all started at $35. I bought a $45 bottle because I figured, what's 10 more dollars at this point? And I know I'll drink it. It tastes good, but still, like that's not that cheap. So I think a 9.5 is pretty fair. But I will say it's delicious, and if you like banana, you should make it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.